Hello and welcome again to our weekly podcast. My name is Vinny Lavan and this is Phoenix USA's weekly podcast. My co-host, Mr. Sheldon Scipio. Welcome again, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here again.
I know the last time we had Mr. Weil who was with us. Unfortunately, he's unable to be with us at the moment, so we'll have him on next week's podcast. Right?
Yes, he is unavailable. The time slots sometimes had to match up, him being in the UK.
Yes. I realized that a lot of our viewers enjoyed that session last week with you and Mr. Wild. And also, we had a number of persons who would have sent in suggestions and things that they would like to see changed or added to our podcast. So we'll be working on those things shortly.
Yes. Any suggestions that you know written about whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or on any of the podcast sites, most of them allow you to comment. We would try to address them. We would try to adjust. This is a learning experience for us, and we want you to learn about us as well.
Yes, that is so correct. And we just want to thank our loyal listeners for continuing to look out for our weekly messages, for liking, sharing, subscribing. It really means a lot to us. And even if it is you would like us to talk about something in particular, you can always put that in a message. You can visit pin-usa.com. We also have some additional changes that was made recently. Please feel free to check it out.
Yes, you can message us directly on the website, so we would get that there, if not on the podcast sites.
Yes, for sure.
On our LinkedIn page can also take messages, our Facebook page as well. And we have an Instagram page.
Oh yes, I almost forgot about that. Mr. CPO, you are saying that you want to talk today about entrepreneurship and basically being an inspiration to other persons who are starting their own business, who going through different stages at this point in time in various aspects.
Yes, I wanted to share my most recent experience in seeking funding
Right?
and what it would take. So I wanted to share, you know, and I don't want to make it into this, fanciful fantasy story that you're going to just go out there and get funding. I'm going to be real and talk about what we've gone through so that anybody listening can grasp what they would need, to become successful at being funded, no, regardless of how big or how small this idea is.
Okay.
So we have been seeking funding for Pinit USA for approximately 2 years, and we've been seeking funding every week. So 52 weeks a year, for 2 weeks, we have been seeking funding. The journey has taken us from banks, venture capital, lenders in the Middle East, um, angel investors, hedge fund investors, family groups, every type of investor and lender you can think of, we have approached. And why I brought this topic is looking at the amount of investors that I've spoken to in these 2 years, which is close to 40, that I've kept a record of. So we initially decided, we would try venture capital because our idea, would have not been in the early stages of it. So we assumed we would be, venture capitalists would jump to us. And we spoke to a number of venture capitalists. I won't call the name of any particular investor here. Um, all these investors are legit. You just may not meet their criterion at this point in time.
Right.
So we spoke to multiple type investors, and we are still speaking with investors. So we have spoken to investors who are like angel investors. You would get the money, you don't have to pay it back. They want a percentage of the profit for a period of time, and that can be switched and made into a loan, where you pay them back so that you stop paying the profit, or it switches into equity where they get equity. There are so many ways to, to bake this pie or to cook this meal that, you would be dizzy. And if I try to call all of them here, we would be here for a long time. But I'm bringing this out, to let you know that you can't go to one or two investors and decide that's it. So after our venture capitalist trust, where we tried, three venture capitalists, we even held a pitch night with one of the venture capitalists to let other entrepreneurs try their hand at being funded. And we didn't get funded by them, but two people that we brought to them on the pitch night got funded. Getting funded is about finding a fit. You have to fit with them. So there would be people, maybe they have $1 billion to invest, but they want to invest in agriculture only. So you may have a great tech product, and they will tell you, hey, this sounds great. I don't know anything about tech, so I am not going to invest. Recently, one person looked at our plan and they were, wow, this is amazing. But I don't know the space. So I don't want to invest in what I don't know. So that's the first key. Investors do not like to invest in something they don't understand. They would rather walk away from it, even if it may seem to them and on paper it's profitable, they won't invest in something they don't understand. Lenders even may not lend you because they don't understand. This journey brought us to some realizations. Everybody wants more or less an elevator pitch. So they want you to give them a one pager. And if what is on that one page does not pique their curiosity, you don't get the interview. They don't want to speak to you any further. On that one page, you must describe your business, and your business must solve a problem. Because if you're solving a problem, then you will be in business for a long time. And investors want you to be in business for a long time and successful, because that's how they're going to make money on what they have invested in you. So you have to, in the modern day, have that one pager, that one page that investor looks at and he's genuinely interested. It jumps out of the page, it catches them, it catches him or her, and they're like, yes, I can, now I want to talk to this person and I want to get the nitty gritty. The second thing on that is that when they come to talk to you, they have your business plan. And you may be wondering, well, why they still want to talk to you. Because businesses are alive. And what you wrote down yesterday may change totally today. Some new way to farm may have come out. So you have to change that business plan. So they want to hear what you're going to do today. But then they also want to know a year from now what you're going to do. And that may not be what you wrote down 6, 8 months ago. So the plan is changing, the plan is evolving. Just the business is evolving because the business, as you register it, most people know you register an LLC, is an entity of its own. And if your business doesn't evolve or have plans to evolve, if it's not malleable, your business is not going to be around long enough for an investor to want to invest in the first place. So they're going to ask you about today, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, exit strategy. Are you planning to exit? What is the exit strategy for the investor? How does the investor get out after he probably has equity in it and he needs to get out? Because the investor doesn't want to run your business. The way he makes money or she makes money is they invest their money, they get back a large percentage on the money they've invested, and therefore they have made their money. They are going to now step out of your business and you continue to run your business. So I was looking at, we spoke to not just venture capitalists. There's this unique group, family groups. Family groups are groups of people, or just a family, or maybe just an individual who has and is liquid, who has funds that they can invest in a project and they want to see a return. They are not going to come to you. You get to them through their broker, and the broker is going to look at the plan, do all the investigation, ask all the hard questions, and they're going to more or less now take just enough back to this family group, and then the family group is going to be, yes, let's try this, we will go with this. That is a whole different situation. Their money is put somewhere in a bank, wherever they have their money, a hedge fund, wherever, and they are willing to invest, but they also have what they would invest in versus what they will not invest in.
Right.
So it is all about you going from point A to point B through the alphabet over and over until you get that fit. Until you get an investor who knows your business, your area of business, and is willing to invest in your idea because he likes how unique it is and he or she thinks I'm going to get good return. Another way that people invest is, hey, I'm going to invest, but I'm also going to give you somebody that is in that field, or and this person is going to become part of your company to ensure or to try to ensure that you are going on the right path. They will also be able to report directly back to the investor on what you're doing with the funds. You're sticking to the plan, or why you have deviated from the plan. So you're going to get this person, which is another offer that we had a year ago, where, hey, we can invest in you, but we can also give you this key person, international business contact, that is going to help you get off the ground. Another company once said, we don't have key persons, but we have key contacts in your field. So we can get you these contracts, which is the only reason that we want to invest. Why you may or may not take those options may be the amount of equity you have to give up in your company. Something I heard some people say is they're afraid to give up the equity. The equity is like them, is like the collateral they're holding in case you do not pay this back, or you can't. So it's not that the investor is going to be owning part of your company in most cases. In most cases, the investor wants out at some point in time because they have maximized their investment. They have gotten as much as they believe they can get in this period of time, interest wise. They've made their money has doubled or with whatever their goal was. And when they reach that point, they want out. Either they want to sell back that equity to you, or maybe your exit strategy was they could sell it on the open market. But whatever that exit strategy is, that is going to be how the investor exits your company. I just want to touch on one more thing. And you have to be malleable. Your company has to be. The people you who work with at the top of your company. Because one major question you always get is, who is your team? And you need to have a team of people who have expertise in a number of areas. You cannot be the finance person and the engineer and the salesperson and the tax person, because then you'd be doing engineering today, tax tomorrow, sales the next day, and all must happen at the same time. And they want to see people who are expert at it. Yes, it may be your idea. Great. But are you a great tax person, a great marketing person, great at sales? You're not going to find that one person who's great at everything. Be honest with yourself. You know you can't do it all. So you need to have these people. They need to be on your team before the investor comes around. Because they would be asked questions and they need to answer with knowledge. Just, not read off of a paper or anything. This is a sit down and nobody has any paper in front of them and questions are going to be shot at them. They need to fire back. And all need to be on the same page. 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, they all need to be on the same page. So you need to have a team. Nobody wants to invest any sizable sum of money into a one-man team. If something happens to this one person, then what does the company do while you're ill with whatever? While you have to run and see about your husband or your wife or something like that, does the business stop? Nobody is going to invest in that kind of scenario. And you need to know that you're going to speak to maybe 50 people, and every week, everyone you speak to, you have to have the same joy in your voice, the same enthusiasm, the same eagerness, the same surety about your idea and your concepts. No, regardless to who said no last week or yesterday, today is a brand new day, a brand new investor, a brand new opportunity for you to make your dreams start to come true. So you cannot go, man, I got turned down yesterday or last week. No. As yesterday is finished, let yesterday be done with. And you know what you do? You go back through your plans, you improve your plans, you make sure you're staying up to date with what is happening, and you make changes as necessary, because you will wake up the next morning, you may have another investor saying, I heard about you, send me your stuff, and you need to send it out. So you just have to have it in draft. Have a folder. Everything you need to send out. So hey, as someone says, I think I'm interested, you send it out. You get in those LinkedIn groups with investors and investment groups, and you keep plugging your stuff. And the more you plug it, the more people are going to come to you, and you have to be ready each time, every day, same enthusiasm as if nobody has told you no.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing that. You answered a question I was going to ask you a little while ago, which was how do you really get before investors? Like, where do you go? How do you access them? And you're just saying LinkedIn. Is that the only source?
No, there are. If you subscribe to business news, you'd realize there are always, pitch nights. There, there's all sort of pitch competitions where investors would come and sit and listen to ideas. There are, networking nights for startups where you would go, investors would be there as well. There are numerous ways, you hire someone and that person is a person who is in that space. So they already have, you know, 200 investors listed. There
Okay.
are people with software engines that have 500, 1,000 investors listed, and they can get your plans in front of all of these people. You would need to pay them, of course, but they would get your plans in front of these people. They would charge a small fee for putting you into their system, and they would charge a success fee that once you get through, you need to pay them the success fee as well.
Right. Now that brings me to another question. You spoke a lot about investments and loans, but this, sorry, what is you're talking about is outside of the traditional banking facilities, not so? And why do you choose to go, or why would someone want to choose to go to investment entities, private persons, family groups, and so forth, and not go to the traditional bank?
Okay, firstly, traditional banks require a large deposit usually.
Right,
Banks don't lend money on an idea. So if you're building a business, yes, you plan to have, 10 unique coffee shops, 30 unique coffee shops. That's an idea. Banks
right,
don't usually lend money on an idea. You also don't have a credit rating that will allow the bank to lend you money to build 10 coffee shops.
okay,
Whereas these investors and these guys who lend, switch back and forth, they are prepared to take the risk to lend you that sum of money, right? And it's a risk on their part. Understand? Once you understand the risk they would be taking, you would understand sometimes their fees, their questions, their due diligence, all of that they have to go through because sometimes you're getting 10, 20, 30 million US and it's an idea that you have.
right,
Why would somebody lend you that on an idea? That's when they want to see everything. They underwrite it. They want to see how you're spending every cent. And the next reason for going to them is you usually get a 2 year grace period where you're not paying back the loan.
right, and that's important because when you're now starting off business, you need a little while before you can start to sell your product and or services and, really settle on yourself
Yes, that
to
is
accumulate funds.
yes, that is really important. You need not to have the proverbial monkey on your back when you're starting out. You need to have that space where you'll be able to maneuver knowing that, hey, I don't have to run to make payments. They usually take their payments annually as well.
Right,
So when you make a payment, you don't have to think of a next payment, for 12 months. But it gives you that break so your business can start up. If you had to be paying back as soon as you borrow, you have to pay back. You haven't even bought the things for the restaurants yet, but you're paying back the loan. You
Right.
haven't paid staff. You know, so the money that you should probably be using to build the business, you're paying it back if you had gone to the traditional banks.
Right. Correct.
So this is the reason for looking for funding as I like to say, to look at funding and look at unique ways for funding. Depending on how much you want, crowdsourcing would not be the way I would go because you're hoping that people put money into you and whether they're getting a piece of equity, a piece of your company in exchange for it. You don't want to start off a company and a lot of people have say because they have shares and they're on the board because you have a vision and you know where you want it to go and too many people will be pulling on the steering.
Right.
So, I know there are people who have crowdsourced their way. I prefer not to be sitting with a business idea crowdsourcing while my competitor is going directly to investors and he gets off the ground first.
Right. That's very interesting. I remember. Okay, so earlier on in your message, you were stating that investors would ask for other persons who are involved in the business who have expertise. Is it that you found all this along the way, or is it that you always had a crew, you always had your experts at hand when it is you were going when you were going for funding?
I learned this, sort of on the fly. Um, and this was about 10 years ago. Dr. Lance really liked my idea, and he was preparing me to speak with Damon John. And he said, okay, great, you're the idea person, you're the visionary, but you may not be a great salesperson,
Right.
right? And then even if you're a great salesperson, you need a marketing team to get a message out so that you can, knock on the doors so that you can get in the doors and do sales. And then whilst that is going on, somebody has to keep your accounting in space. Somebody has to look at, production and logistics. So you need people who are expert at those things. There may be ways around it if the logistics and shipping are handled by a separate company and you pay them.
Right.
So they get paid for doing it properly and therefore you're not looking at you own that team. You may, also do that with your marketing. You may bring in a marketing team so you don't have to have a marketing team. But if you still need to talk into the investor, this is my marketing team, this is my logistics team, this is because if they can't see it, then how do you get it done? Because that is the question. So how would you get marketing done?
Right.
Your answer could be as simple as it's outsourced through Ideas United or whoever, and now they understand. This is who you're going to get it done with. These people are experts.
Right.
They will get your message out.
All right, great. I know that we are coming close to our time for us to wrap up, but I just have one quick question for you. How did you feel, or how do you feel when you go before these investors, all hopes up that you're going to be funded, and time again you realize this is not for you, this person's asking for too much equity, this person, they took the documentation, they looked at it, they probably had some type of consultation in-house, and they'd be like, okay, this is not in keeping with what we would want to do. We're into manufacturing, we are into construction, and this is a space I do not know. How do you keep that level of resilience, like continue to go, continue to go, continue to go?
I start with belief, my belief in what I am doing. So I have, belief that what I am doing is going to help so many other people.
Right.
If this is going to help so many other people in the world, then I think, this is an idea whose time has come.
Right.
You must have some sort of belief in something bigger than yourself.
Right.
Belief in yourself, yes, but there must be something bigger than yourself. Whatever you wish to call it, however you want to name it, but there must be belief that it's something bigger than yourself.
Right.
You believe in that, you believe in yourself, you believe in this plan, and therefore you go out saying, not everybody is necessarily for you. Because most people don't just turn you down flat.
Right.
They tell you what they like and etc. about it. And what you do is you eagerly make notes. This is great, this is great, this is great. They didn't talk about these three. I'll work on these three.
Right.
So you may start with only 2 good things. After the 10th call, you have 8 good things.
Right.
Now you only have 3 or 4 more to work on. And you keep tweaking. And anything they ask for that you didn't have, you add. And you realize it's a learning experience, and you grow with each time you're in front of an investor, you grow. You grow in confidence, you grow in knowledge, and you know that it's only a matter of time before you grow enough that somebody will say, hey. And if you read enough, you read Bill Gates, Walt Disney, KFC. These guys had to pitch 100 times, over 100 times, their idea before someone said yes.
Correct.
The thing is, when someone did say yes, they were still enthusiastic. They were ready. So you take every no as like an Olympic sprinter. When you train today, you didn't clock the time. The coach said you didn't make, sub 10 in the 100 meter. So you know what? You train some more, you come back, you run it again.
Right.
And if you have that belief in yourself and you understand that this is just a training ground, because when you get the funding, the fun now starts. Now you have to actually run the business.
Right.
So understand that this is this is not even the first leg of the relay. This is the preliminary sprints.
There's a warm up.
Yes. Getting that funding is the warm up, because then you actually have to run the business.
And would you say that Pinnet USA is shovel ready?
We are shovel ready. All of the moving parts are in place. Every partner, every aspect is on their marks and waiting to the guy at the start of the race to say set go.
Right. Because I know offhand that we have partners that we have pending contracts with, and there'll be regular meetings. And, it's just like we're not there yet, and just giving them basically funding updates. So you're also being honest with the persons and they we may have potential contracts with, to let them know where you're at and how soon. Sometimes because you're waiting for the investor to get back to you, you can't really give a deadline as to when this will happen, because they can come back and say, listen, WXYZ, or probably in the closing like I have seen before, they have some type of requirement that at the point in time you may not just be able to meet.
Yes. So you learn that there could always be a twist at the very end.
Yeah.
And you're preparing for that. So you're telling everybody else, the manufacturer, the wherever, hey, look, I'm almost there, but I can't say I've signed up everything, I've gotten to this point, and each investor, each lender, different procedures, different policies, different requirements.
Right.
And you know, okay, this one doesn't want, may not want this, but the next one wants it. This one wants me to travel to Turkey. This one, and it's all different, but you know where, you know, you have an idea of how long it may take. Some you may not be even able to meet the requirement that they have.
Right.
And this is why I adopted the, hey, I can fish, you know, I can throw out 5, 6 lines on the pier. The pier has two sides, the pier is 200 feet long. I just need to keep buying fishing poles and set up along the pier.
And I've seen you done that before. Okay, I wouldn't ask you any more questions, not because there are no more questions to ask, but because I think that you've unpacked a lot of information here. And this podcast in particular is designed for persons as a learning experience who are in that space, who are looking to get off the ground, who have a great idea but do not have the capital to start off. And I think what person's supposed to do with a podcast like this, do it like an exam question. You listen to it, okay, you get the fundamentals, you listen over it again with pen and paper or your computer, and you take notes. And of course, once it is you go on the podcast sites, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can ask questions, you can send your contact information, and once we get it, we'll be happy to have a chat with you. Right, Sheldon, you have unpacked a whole lot of information. I'm sure that the viewership and the listeners, well, not viewership, sorry, but the listeners, that they'll be very happy to hear about your journey so far. And that's another part of Pinet's journey, your resilience, persistence in business, and the different avenues of which they can now apply themselves to get off the ground.
Yes, and that's my goal, to share a peek behind the curtains and, you know, give a realistic view of what we did, what we're doing, so that somebody else, you know, who's sitting, who's wondering what next, who is saying, they're saying, I haven't been funded yet, hey, they can say, look, let me use this example and let me double down and go again.
Right. And even to our partners that we have pending contracts with, now you get to understand that sometimes it's not the same investor group that we may have originally been before, but it might have been about 4 or 5 others after that, because different things sometimes in the ending, a lot of times in the ending, things just happen to change, some requirements you just simply can't meet, and those different things. Right, so I'd like to thank you so very much for your time. I'd like to thank our audience for constantly listening, for sharing feedback, and don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. And I would like to thank once more my co-host, Mr. Scipio, the CEO and founder of Pinet USA, for his time and for imparting his wisdom to us all. And I am your host, Denise Lavin. I would like to say thank you and have a wonderful week ahead. I look forward to the next podcast where, fingers crossed, eyes crossed, toes crossed, we'll get Mr. Martin Weil to come back on, because I know he's excited about coming back and talking, continuing, hopefully to get questions 2 and 3 out. Because Sheldon and Martin have a real chemistry there.
Yeah, we look forward to Martin coming back. We look forward to, you know, Barry Tate, the Duval, Sherry and Gill, Clark Squires, David Babish, Philip, Seamus. We have a whole host of people. Sherry from iHeartRadio, Megan from Basketball Canada. We have a whole bunch of people we hope to get on here. and it's going to never be this rigid script. We want it to be fun. We want everybody to be loose. Hope to see you. Hope to hear, see the listenership, like and share this, and you all have a wonderful weekend.
When saying that with the unscripted thing, you're going to give Mark the jitters.
Oh, Mark knows I'm not giving him any questions, but we'll have fun.
Gail, brace yourself. Thank you so very much for another wonderful session. Take care, God bless, and see you again next week.